Kearis Jackson, James Cook, JT Daniels, just to name a few. Why are so many of Georgia's top players coming back to Athens for another year with Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs? I've got an answer for you coming up right now. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. And it's a long answer, but the simple answer is that it makes sense for them right now. It doesn't always make sense to leave to go to the NFL. These are individual decisions that all of these guys make. And when you start thinking about why guys leave, Eric Stokes, it made sense for Eric to leave. I mean, he's probably going to be a top 50 pick. The ability to be a first round draft pick in the NFL is not insignificant. That's life-changing money immediately, right off the bat, guaranteed guaranteed 4 with a 5th-year option almost always happens in the NFL. That's life-changing money, $20 million, stuff like that. I mean, it's going to happen for that person. The game is over. They need to go. For other guys, it makes sense for them to come back. I mean, you look at JT Daniels. Why did he come back? Well, I mean, he's not going to get drafted in the first 3 rounds of this draft. I don't know if he'd have gotten drafted in the first 4. So when he comes back now, you clear out and reshuffle all of the quarterbacks coming into this season. And he goes from a guy that would have to fight his way in the top 150 draft picks with so many quarterbacks. Some view 3 of these quarterbacks as perhaps generational franchise quarterbacks, you know. So you flush them out of the system. They're still in the NFL, but so are the other 29 teams in the NFL. Teams like the Falcons, who probably aren't quite ready to make a change. Teams like the Lions, Bears, teams like that who are Steelers, who are just sort of like, we're not quite ready yet to make a change. Well, quite ready becomes ready. And then if you're JT Daniels, you look around and you say, well, all of a sudden I could be a first-round guy. And as we all know, Johnny Manziel, Tim Tebow, people get a little bit nuts when they start talking about quarterbacks. They pick the wrong guys. So it can happen that you can really go in the first round whether you are a first-round guy or not. And JT's going to have to prove that he's a first-round guy in 2021. He didn't prove that in 2020 or 2018. If he did, he'd be gone. And I'm not hating, I'm just saying what it is. You know, he needed that extra year. When you start looking at Kearis Jackson, I mean, I'm not really sure if there was a law decision to be made there, but he needed to come back. You know, I'm just looking at the board over here. There's not a lot of guys that it made sense to leave. Someone like Devonta Wyatt, as an example, a senior who has another year that he can play at Georgia. Well, Devontae's not like a lot of people because he went to junior college and then he showed up at Georgia. So he doesn't have the full body of work that a lot of guys do. He also doesn't have an exceptional season. He has really good seasons. So could Devonta go from an undrafted free agent to a top 3-round guy or a top 4-round guy? He can now. What about Jordan Davis? That's a guy I didn't talk about at the top. He's probably one of the most important people that have come back. You start talking about JT Daniels, then Jordan Davis probably, then James Cook. We don't know while I'm recording this what Zamir is going to do. But I think Jordan is probably the number 2 guy coming back into this program in terms of importance. Some people make the argument he's number 1 because you have other quarterbacks. You don't have other Jordan Davises. You're talking about a guy who totally could be a first-round guy next year. Totally top 30 guy. That's possible. I don't think he would have been a first-round guy this year. I don't think so. But he can next year. And that's why you come back. The difference between being a 4th-round guy and possibly being a first-round or even being a second-round guy, although the protections are not the same in the second round. There are protections, but it's not the same. Those top 64-ish picks are really important for franchises in the NFL. That's what you stack your team with. Those people are highly paid and they're expected to make the team go, not just make the team. Once you get 3rd round and back, now you're talking about how you fill your team out, but those guys are constantly under pressure to make the team and to survive. Getting to a second contract for someone like JT Daniels, if he were to come out this year, it'd be more complicated because he wouldn't have, what we're expecting for him to jump up the draft board and get the protections from that. He's not going to have that coming out right now in the 21 draft. So those guys coming back, James Cook, JT Daniels, Jordan Davis, those guys have a chance to really zoom up the board. So it does make sense for them to come back. This year they'd have been fighting, it'd have been tougher. Jordan Davis probably would have been the highest of selected of those three. Coming back next year, I don't know that he still will be. He's in position to be, but then all of a sudden you got JT Daniels who could really zoom up a board because he's a quarterback. And because of the way he's played. I mean, his worst game at Georgia was a game where he drove the team down the field to win the game and almost threw for 400 yards. He has now all of a sudden the ability, the opportunity that Jamie Newman got rid of. If you look at Jamie Newman, this is not going to be a Jamie Newman hate fest. That's not the point. It's just an example because we're going to see what happens with Jamie Newman. I don't think there's any way he goes in the first round. Second round seems hard to believe. And third round, I don't know. But he hasn't zoomed up like the quarterback at BYU, Zach Smith, I think is his name. He didn't do that. He didn't have Kyle Trask's year. He could have. And that's what you're talking about with someone like JT Daniels. With Jordan Davis, same situation. Can he put up another year of performance where there's not as much in the way of injuries? I mean, Jordan missed 3 games this year. That's 30% of your season. So can that happen? Can you push your way up the draft board? If people think this is about Georgia, it is a little bit about Georgia, but this is about these guys and what they can do to fulfill their dreams and to settle their family for possibly generations to come. You start talking about a payday of $5 million that these guys have worked. And I'm not just talking about at Georgia. These guys have done the work in the weight room. They've done the work in high school. They've played the high school games. They've been on the buses. They've dealt with the eating that you got to do to be an athlete. We're talking about probably in most guys' cases about 8 years. When they get their payday, they have worked for that. This isn't just about talent, okay? Talent is the thing you have to have talent, but you have to have the work ethic too. If you don't work, none of this happens. If you don't work, then you're going to do it in another profession. That I'm not even going to run down other professions. These guys do work. They're not. The value of a college scholarship, which I had, is great, but it's not the same as money that you can get in the NFL. It's just not, So these guys have done the job and done work, and they are trying to maximize the amount of money they get for the work that they've done while they've been in Silver Bridges. Yes, it can be two things at the same time. It just so happens that these guys can come back and raise their draft stock, in theory, and try to win a conference and national championship. Those things don't have to be exclusive from one another. In fact, they often go hand in hand. But Eric Stokes made the right call. There's no confusion here. So it depends on the guy. But when you ask, why are so many guys coming back? This is not necessarily about winning a national championship at Georgia. Sorry for breaking, some eggs here. But the truth is, these guys work. They're trying to maximize their value, and that's what they're doing. That's just all there is to it. And let's live in reality and call it what it is. That they can win the national championship in the conference, that more the better. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. Thanks for watching the videos. Click the playlist now. We are updating this. We are updating this playlist right now. Make sure you check it out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the website.